This is the Volleyball Video Dads Podcast with four guys who don't have all the answers, but do have a lot of opinions.
The four of us have found each other. All the BD.
And there it is. It didn't take long.
For the video dad, it's like, hey, that's my spot.
Yeah.
I need you to move that dad.
Somebody want to bail me out here?
It's fun to watch you work.
Matt took me in like a stray dog.
And now that stray dog is turned into a beautiful steed. Welcome to another Volleyball Video Dads Podcast. I'm one of four, Dan. I'm joined with Travell, Matt,
Two of four.
and Jamazing.
A 10.
3 and 4 of 4 right there.
4 and 4. How do we get that rank? Do we decide? I just said I was one.
No particular order at this time. But we all know who the amazing one is.
He is.
Don't we?
Yeah,
Yes.
Dan.
Jim.
That's right.
No, not at all. Not at all. So it's been a hot minute since we've actually done one of these. Volleyball.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Podcast.
It's been a while. Yeah, we holidays,
How's everybody?
everything. Good, man. Holidays and more holidays, and next thing you know, it's been almost a month since we did one of these. Maybe it has been a month.
Travell, you working out?
No, it's the shirt, man. I'm telling you.
Sure.
I only wear it just because it looks this way. I promise you, there ain't nothing you want to see underneath here. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. But as New Year's resolutions go, I'm working on it, man. So
Attaboy.
give me a couple months, and I will be that much closer to being Jamaican. Just that much.
I don't know if
There's
we'll
a
ever make it.
sponsorship
But we gotta have
opportunity
goals,
there.
right? We gotta have goals.
Yep.
Matt, Jim, you guys have a good holiday?
I did. It was really good, really busy. Somebody asked me what I got for Christmas.
What'd you get for Christmas?
Hey, Travell, thanks for asking. That's
man.
nice of you to think of me that way and ask me what I got for Christmas. Hey, well, I'm talking on it. My kids got me a new podcast mic. Super excited about it. Got the little boom arm and the windscreen. I sound like it's my deep, sexy voice, and I love it.
Oh, you sound amazing. Not
thanks.
Jim Amazing.
Matt Amazing.
Matt Amazing.
There we go.
We'll take it, man. We'll take it.
Yeah, sounding good.
Oh.
Good. Jim,
What about you?
up
What
to?
about you? Yeah, what about you, Jim? What's up? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so busy. It was a break only from work. Lots of other stuff going on. I built some aquaponic systems for the backyard, which is pretty cool stuff to do. And that was just a lot of other stuff. So I didn't get to do any video editing, unfortunately. So I failed as the video parent, but get to redeem myself this coming weekend. We have a nice big tournament in San Antonio, the Countdown City Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think volleyball tournaments are the big ones are starting this
That
weekend.
time, man.
Yep. Travell and I will be in Oklahoma City this
We
weekend.
will link up. Hopefully, Matt, we can get together, man, and try to put together some VD content for you guys. So stay tuned for the VD, the episodes of Matt and Travell.
Yeah.
That's in the alley behind the hotel.
More like the lost episodes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Travell keeps sending me these
Yeah.
weird text messages saying, "Meet me outside at the car." What?
It may involve a substance.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
There went our PG rating.
yeah. We might have got like 3 downloads off of that though, so you can thank me later.
Hey, we'll take it. So let's just jump into the volleyball thing. What are we talking about tonight, guys? Matt,
Man, it
what
is
are we
something super exciting. I personally am stoked about this one. I reached out to Shawnee Harley a while ago. Actually, she reached out to me. I found her online and she reached out to me. And we had a conversation. We scheduled 30 minutes. She's busy. I'm busy. We scheduled 30 minutes. I think we went close to an hour. This conversation was just incredible, talking about mental toughness. And she crosses a lot of boundaries with different sports. So she's a mental toughness coach. Believe it or not, she's a 2-time Olympian. She's an assistant coach for Canada basketball. She's got 27 years of elite coaching experience that involves Olympic Games, World Championships, FIBA basketball, World University Games. She's a chartered professional coach. She's got a master's degree in coaching studies. She's a master coach developer. She's a master learning facilitator with the National Coaching Certification Program, where she mentors and trains anybody from advanced level to a novice that's getting involved in all sorts of coaching for different sports. And just talking to her, I mean, we just went from one topic to the next topic to the next topic, and it was just had me fired up. I was ready to go back to work. Well, not ready to go back to work, but I was ready to, hit it at work. It was awesome. It was a great conversation. So we scheduled some time to get her on today, and I can't wait to have this conversation because it's going to be good. So if we can bring her on and welcome Miss Shawnee Harley to the stage.
Can we do the round of applause?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
let's go.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shawnee, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Yeah, nice. Cool. I don't know. I was listening to that intro. I'm like, whoa. I'm going to have to get these boys some mental toughness here and get them on track.
We do need it.
We are volleyball dads, though. So, I mean, we got
Fair
that
enough.
going for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shawnee, welcome to the show. So excited to have you on. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I'm a little bit privy to it because you and I have had some conversations offline. But I am really excited about this episode and all the things that we get to talk about tonight. Wish we had a little bit longer than an hour. But we may, break it out into part 2 at some point as well, because it's just great information that you have to offer. Just to get started, can you tell us all things about Shawnee from birth to now? Don't miss a single detail. We want to know it all. Maybe not all.
That would be so boring. I got to where I am in a very twisty, windy road. That usually seems the way it happens. And I was a professional coach for 20 years. And I coached, you call it college basketball in Canada. We call it university basketball. So I did that for 20 years. And I got to see that side of it. I got to see it from the coaching side. I got to be in 2 Olympics. And when I finished coaching, I got burnt out of coaching, which we all do at some point. I decided I wanted to do this mental toughness thing. And what's been so cool about it is I saw it in depth from a coach perspective. And now I get to see it from the eyes of the athlete. And it has been so interesting for me to see what's really going on with our athletes. Because for 20 years, I coached these athletes. I look back on that. I was like, what the F was I doing? Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I thought I did. Thought I was doing it great. My team was really successful. We were highly ranked, blah, blah, blah. We won a lot. But now I see it from the other side, how many things that I was missing as a coach. And I think that's what's so exciting for me is I get to now help not just athletes, but I get to help coaches and parents because this journey, this thing called sport is really dang hard.
Well, you're telling me.
Yeah.
I thought it was done when I was out of high school.
Yeah, it's tough being an athlete, whenever you're playing the game, but, even now stepping into parenthood, it's really tough to handle it, from a parent perspective, trying to help your kid through it, through their struggles, through their triumphs, but then also trying to navigate your own journey, parenting them through the process is it's interesting. We'll just leave it at that. It's very interesting. It's very, there's some good times, there's some bad times, some tough times for sure. And that kind of leads into a question, that you had brought up earlier about the different struggles that athletes face. And I'm curious about, what is, I've got a daughter who plays volleyball. She's 15. I'm curious what she's not telling me.
Well,
Any insight on that?
I was going to ask before Shawnee says anything, I was going to say, why don't we, as the 4 of us, tell her what we think the struggles are? And then she can tell us what the parents are, how close we are.
All right,
because
Dan,
I bet you that we're completely different, completely off.
Probably. You're up
Ooh,
first,
this
Dan.
would be a great experiment. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
All right. So why do I just brought this up? I should be the one that gets to pick.
Well, you brought it up. You have
volunteered.
to go first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about the struggles of the children. What we think the struggles are for children.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. How many do we have to pick? 1, 2, 1.
Let's go one.
Just pick one. Just
Let's
go
do
one.
one. I think one of the struggles that the kids have to deal with is looking at their parents and hoping that they're doing good for their parents.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with maintaining a standard that is probably set by everybody else but themselves. I'll go with that.
Okay, that's a good one.
I will say judgment from their teammates.
Okay, I can see that one.
Those are all good. I guess trying to figure out where sport fits in their lives.
That's
Like
what they're about.
Like the grand scheme of sports.
Yeah, like how
in the long
important
run,
is
or
it?
just from day to day?
Yeah, is it worth missing my prom for? Is it worth skipping out on my social life, or having to work extra hard late nights, or work in the car while we're driving to and from practice? Is it worth that?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Guys, good answers.
Yeah.
Good answers. Every answer that you gave is correct. I mean, it's a long list. And if I were to put, say, an overarching statement into all of the things that we could list, I would say it like this. The biggest thing that athletes are struggling with is they don't know what to do with how they feel. So when you said pleasing parents, that's a feeling. I'm worried about disappointing them, so I don't know what to do with that feeling. The other one was meeting expectations.
Yeah.
Right? What if I can't? And then how does that feel? What do I do with that? Another one was judgment. Another one was, where does this crazy sport thing fit into my life? If I look at all of those things, those are all problems, and every one of those problems creates a feeling. And for most athletes, the feelings that they struggle with are the negative ones, obviously. Thank you, Captain Obvious. They struggle with the negative. I call them the crappy. Sport, we have happy and we have crappy. But we get a lot of crappy and we don't know what to do with it. And this is the biggest struggle that athletes are having. They feel, that's why it's so cool when I get to talk to them. Like, they tell me things that they don't tell anyone else. And that's part of the problem. They feel like they're not allowed to tell anyone else, because what does sport teach? Fake it till you make it. Suck it up, princess. Just get out there and be confident. It teaches us to deny, avoid, and suppress all of these crappy feelings. But the emotional storm that's going on in these athletes is real, because think about it. The storm's coming in sport, whether you want it to or not. But the truth is, most of the storms are emotional, not physical. And they are ill-equipped and don't know what to do with how they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, Shawnee, I would say the physical is easier to deal with. Right. It's very direct, right? You've exercised, you've practiced, you've done all the things to physically prepare your body. If somebody's stronger than you or taller than you or faster, hey, that's just the way it is. There's not much you can do about that. But the emotions that come from that.
Yeah.
You know what? It's kind of like the difference between the art and the science. The technical, tactical, the skill part is just so obvious. A plus B equals C. But there's an art over here when it comes to our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. If we use the phrase emotional intelligence, if we use the phrase self-awareness, boy, oh boy, that is a lot harder to navigate. And there's not a formula that works all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you I've seen that firsthand with my child. Definitely not a formula.
No, I mean, you could say something one day that works, and the next day it's like has no effect.
So if you say that kids, athletes, you know, they don't feel like they have a safe place to go and talk, what are they doing with these emotions?
Isn't that such a great question? I see two things. They either have a best friend who they tell everything to, and they vent, and then they give each other advice. Just think about how well that works. 13-year-olds giving advice to 13-year-olds.
Yeah. I know all about that.
And they're like, oh, you should do this, or you should think this, or you know what, you should just not like them anymore, or you should. So they vent, they dump to one person, one or two people that they trust, and then they advise each other, or they suppress. And they try not to have these feelings. They just keep pushing the feelings down. And that's the crappy thing about feelings. Well, in my opinion, the good thing about feelings is they're called feelings because we're supposed to feel them.
Absolutely.
All of them.
Yeah.
In fact, feelings bring information. Our body cannot talk to us with words. So our body talks to us with feelings. But then where did I start with? Our body's talking to us, and at times you want to say to your body, would you shut the hell up right now?
Right.
Because I don't know what to do with all that is going on. And there's a lot going on with these feelings. And that's what they do. They vent and take advice from the wrong people, or they suppress, avoid, push it down. All the same thing.
Yeah. Neither one of those sound very healthy.
No, it seems like a difficult task to accomplish, to get through to where you can break through it, have them actually give you the information you need to diagnose, for better words, what they're feeling at that moment, right?
Well, where I would counter that is it's actually quite easy.
Tell me.
Yeah,
more.
I'm interested.
Tell me more.
When you figure out how to ask the right questions, and when you give them a safe place to land, when they authentically show up, I will be in a conversation with an athlete that I just met, and in 5 minutes, and I'm talking on Zoom, I've never met them, in 5 minutes, we're into it right now. We are in to the heart of the problem. Because what I've learned, what athletes want, I do heart work. Why heart work? Because that's where the truth is. And the truth sets us free. They don't know how to go in there, and I help them go in there. And then I give them a safe place to land when they get in there, and they're like, holy shit, that wasn't what I wanted to see or hear. And I'm like, I know. It's okay.
Yeah.
And here's why Matt, you asked, what do they do with these feelings? And I said, they vent to their best friend or they suppress. And what I find interesting is why aren't there conversations in the locker room? How come we don't have healthy conversations with our parents? We shouldn't have healthy conversations with our coaches. Why is that? And you know what? When I ask them, they all say everything that I've learned. There are no unique answers. And I'm never like, whoa, never heard that one before. I'm like, yep, They all say the same thing. They say things like, I'm embarrassed to say this thing. I don't want to cry in front of fill in the blank. I'm worried that it's going to affect my spot on the team. I'm worried I'm going to get laughed at. And so if you go underneath that and we have an overarching phrase, they're worried about being judged for being weak, for being soft, for being emotional. They're worried about being judged for being human, in my opinion, right? Because called feelings. We're supposed to feel them. And what I do that I think makes them feel safe very quickly is that I normalize feelings. And one of the very first things I ask them in the first 2 or 3 minutes is I say, tell me one thing in your sport that you're most afraid of. And do you know what? They're looking at me in the camera. They're like, afraid. And I'm like, you know what? No one's ever asked you that before, have they? And they're like, nope. And that means you haven't thought about it.
Yep.
And so I go right to it immediately, because that's the truth. It's always our fear that stops us from showing up as our greatest self. So the moment I can get down right in there and figure out what their greatest fear is, now we're talking. And in 15 minutes, I can help them shift and give them some tools.
So along those lines, what is the objective, right? It's because everybody has feelings, right? And we need to be able to acknowledge them and be honest about what they are. But at the same time, you can't let your feelings rule you or control you, right? You have to be able to understand them and accept them and then get the job done. And preferably you do that kind of in alignment with your feelings if you can manage it. But sometimes those feelings, like you said, fear, right? They can be a challenge to harness in a healthy way.
Jimmy nailed it. Jeez, you read my mind. I'm like, holy cows, he should be the mental toughness coach on this show.
He is amazing.
Well,
it's my wife's.
What I believe is that part of mental toughness, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, we can use whatever phrase works for us, is that high performers don't allow their feelings to drive their behavior. So if we take it to a 5-year-old, and a 5-year-old, you know what? I don't feel like eating my vegetables. Oh, you know what? It's okay. You don't eat your vegetables. What if your kid woke up? You know what, Mom and Dad? I don't feel like going to school today. Oh, you know what? Then you should just stay home and watch TV. Because there's a lot of things we don't feel like doing. But if we allowed that to drive our behavior, you can see where that takes us. It takes us away from our greatest self. So I think that mental toughness is we learn to manage how we feel, and then we make decisions about what to do with how we feel, because decisions decide destiny. And we get to choose. If I said we don't let feelings drive our behavior, then what's supposed to drive our behavior? Well, in my opinion, it's our thoughts. We have more say over our thoughts than our feelings. So fear is a feeling. And if I let it drive my behavior, I'm never gonna hit the ball hard when it's set to me. I'm just always gonna roll it over the net. I'm never gonna do my jump serve on game point. If I let fear do that. And so I think mental toughness is that we take the feelings and then we get to choose what to think about how we feel, which is different than avoiding how we feel. This brings in the emotional intelligence. I know what to do with how I feel. And I can take that crappy feeling and decide, am I going to let this feeling be the boss of me? Or am I going to be the boss of it? These are actually decisions and choices that we can make. And mental toughness is a skill. That means you get better at it when you practice it.
Yeah, so you got to do it consistently to be able to consistently make good decisions.
So this is a skill, you're saying, which I agree with. There has to be tools and practices that you can perform to get better at this once you realize that you have a situation where you're not mentally tough. What would you recommend for somebody, let's say, who doesn't show emotion on the court, doesn't show any of that? And we as parents have this knowledge, how do us as parents help or give that child the tools to unlock that so that they can work on it?
Great. I'll give you my magic formula. There's no magic formula, people. There's no magic here. Come on. That's like saying I'll give you a magic pill and you're fixed forever. I will give you my formula, and it works most of the time. It doesn't work all the time. It works most of the time. This is I teach a 3-step formula. Step 1 is WAIT, WAIT. It's an acronym. It's an acronym for what am I thinking? Do you know half the time the athletes don't even know what they're thinking? There's just all these thoughts running around in their head like unsupervised children. And they're just like, oh, I guess they're just random. So much of what they do is random because they don't know what's going on. So I'm like, let's go wait. What am I thinking? It's an acronym. The other thing I like about wait, it means that wait, pause, take a moment, take a breath, step away, have a drink of water. Wait stands for what am I thinking? And when we are using this formula, what I can guarantee is that the thing that they're thinking is a negative thought. It's a fear-based thought. I'm afraid of losing. What are people thinking about me sitting on the bench? Oh my goodness, I suck. I just got roofed. It will be some kind of a negative self-talk. Let's just put it that way, because everybody knows what that means. Well, we can't change our thinking if we don't know what we're thinking. And so wait is like, oh my goodness, listen to me right now. I'm being so negative. I'm being so whatever. So it's a negative, there will be a negative thought. Step 2 is shift. So shift works like this. So I say to the athletes, okay, tell me and I take them through this. Tell me what you're thinking. And they can tell me a million negative thoughts. How come I'm not playing? I missed the serve. What did they think? I suck, blah, 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 blah. And so I ask them, when you have those thoughts, do you feel strong or do you feel weak? Every single one of them says, I feel weak. I'm like, I know. So then we go shift. And I say, what are some thoughts that you can choose that make you feel strong? Do you know that half the time when I ask them that, they can't even think of one?
I can't even.
Because they are so programmed.
I was trying to think of one and I couldn't.
I can't think of one either.
Yeah. I go blank thinking about it.
Yeah. I sit there and I wait and I try and be patient. And I'm like, holy crap. They are so programmed into the negative. And so I'm like, okay, shift to a thought that makes you feel strong. And they're like, And I'm like, okay, do you want me to give you a hint? They're like, yeah. I'm like, tell me one thing that you're good at. And some of them, honestly, they have to go, I'm like, it takes you that long to tell me one thing that you're good at? I'm like, so this shows me the narrative that plays in their brain over and over and over and over. Oh, yeah. There is a study that says we have up to 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative. And 95% are repetitive. Wow. And this bears out because I asked them, what's one thing that you're good at? They can't think of it because they've been repeating the negative. So I'll ask them, what's one thing that you're good at? I will ask them things like, what have you spent time practicing? I said, have you put in the work? What's your resume? What's your resume? Can you tell me about your resume? They'd be like, oh man, yeah, like I'm in the gym 5 days a week. I'm in the weight room. I'm like, okay. And so, but I really have to poke them. And I get them to start making a list. I said, when you have those thoughts, do you feel strong or do you feel weak? They're like, I feel strong. Now, it's important that the listeners are being, oh, Shawnee, that's so fluffy bullshit stuff. I'm like, I don't let them tell me fluffy bullshit. I'm like, you have to tell me something that you can do that's in your control. You have to provide proof and evidence that you can do this thing, that you've done this thing, that you have a resume for this thing. So it's not just some fluffy stuff. Wait, shift, choose. And choose, now I have to take the thoughts that I just shifted to that make me feel strong. Now I ask them to choose a courageous action, because courage is a choice. So how would you choose courage? And they're like, well, I would try my jump serve on game point. I'm like, that's right. Next time I get set, I'm swinging as hard as I can.
Yes.
That's right. That's a courageous action. So this is the formula that I get them to practice. And doesn't it sound nice? Do you know how terrible they are at it?
It's simple. It sounds
very
easy.
simple.
But they get better at it. They get better at it. And then I coach the parents. They're like, oh my goodness, Shawnee, I'm driving my kid to the rink and they're so nervous. I'm like, use the formula. Ask them, what are you thinking? What should you shift to? And what will you choose?
Yeah,
Because
that doesn't sound like anything that I've tried to tell my kid. It's more like, hey, swing harder on the next ball, or something like that. You know,
what's going on out there?
And I wonder why I say that. I wonder why I say that 5 times a week, and I get the same result.
Yeah, you don't even get a result, do you?
No, not at all. Right?
They usually end up not swinging on the next one because they don't want to fail, because you're yelling at them, right?
Exactly. And it's probably because they are afraid to mess up what I'm telling them to do. I see why I'm getting the results that I'm getting now.
Yeah.
So
Johnny, I'm curious about this. If this sounds like, when you say wait, we need to pause, we need to think about something. And I'm putting myself, I'm thinking about my daughter in a game situation. And maybe she just missed a set, or she missed a kill, or she missed a serve, or whatever. And now she's having these negative thoughts, but you're saying, hey, wait. You can't really call a timeout so that she can wait, right?
Good. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how long is this process? But then I'm also curious, does this work like muscle memory? That you start to do it, and maybe the first time it takes you 5 minutes, and the next time maybe 4.5, and then you're down to 3, 2, 1 minute. Does it speed up, or is this like a long process? Can you talk through that a little bit?
Oh, so good. That's such good insight. You can see that in sports, like a closed sport versus an open, like think about golf. Like think how much time you'd have to do this. You'd have tons of time to do this in golf, as an example. Less time in a sport where the action's going back and forth. More time when you're sitting on the bench, right? Or there's a timeout.
Yeah.
But Matt, what ends up happening is you start getting good at it. You don't even go through the 3 steps anymore. I'm going to give you an example because I use this for myself. I play pickleball and I'm pretty good. And I play competitively. And the other day I was playing and I was trying to do the little safe, the little short game. And and right as soon as I heard myself say the F-bomb, my next thought was, give me that ball and I'm shoving this thing down your throat. So I don't have to go through the 3 steps anymore. I catch myself. There you are, Shawnee, having your little hissy fit. And then it's like LFG. So I can shift probably in 4 seconds, right in the middle of a pickleball match. But that's because I practiced it. So the process starts getting much more concise. I don't have to think. I just know I have to catch myself, and then I have to be courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, I think that's something that adults, in working life, just a general population, we struggle with recognizing our emotions and recognizing our thoughts and the effect they have on ourselves, right? You hear about self-talk and, just like you said, right? I used to do that when I was a kid. I would struggle in the sport. I had many tantrums playing racquetball with my dad growing up. And I would my inner dialogue as I think back and as I've gotten older and hopefully a little bit wiser, is it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was talking myself into doing worse and worse because of how I spoke to myself and how I dealt with the emotions I was having. Instead of saying, all right, time out, and mental timeout, right? It's milliseconds. Our brains work really fast, right? Once you get practiced at it, you realize, okay, this is bad. I'm talking myself into a pit. I need to stop. I need to put the shovel down and start building myself some stairs.
So thanks, Jim. That's great. I have a question though. So I'm just thinking about like all the scenarios with emotions with my children in club sports, hockey now and volleyball. Mm-hmm. My daughter, my middle daughter, who still doesn't play now, but has been playing, she's very emotionless. So it's very hard as a parent now before this conversation to recognize that. But I can look back from what you've told me, Shawnee, and I can see the situations. My son is in the same situation as a hockey player. He's 13 on a club team, but he is by far the worst player on the team. And meaning this, he just started skating literally 6 months ago, and he makes a team because it's just the extras on the team. So he goes on, he skates, he plays as hard as he can, but he's very emotionless, like my middle child, who played very well in club volleyball. Is there any certain questions or probing questions that I should be asking to make sure that he is working through emotions? Because now that we're talking, I don't know if he's actually suppressing emotions or if he's just having fun out there, because he really doesn't talk about it. So is there something as a parent that could we see? Yeah. Is there something that we could see as a parent that we could help pull that information out if there is an issue?
That is such a great question. I'm over here kind of nervous right now because I'm like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking too.
So
here I'm saying, my son really loves it, but does he? I don't know.
Yes. Remember I said a few minutes ago when the number one thing within the first 3 minutes, I ask, what's the thing that you're most afraid of in your sport? And they don't even answer. They're looking at me in the camera like, what's she talking about? Because I'm like, nobody's ever asked you that. Again, being able to talk about, express, show emotions in a healthy manner is also a skill. And we, as parents and coaches, we aren't very good at asking. We're very good at telling, directing, and lecturing.
Yep.
And we tell you how you're supposed to think and feel.
Especially as dads. Guilty
as charged.
And so, I mean, you could say things like, hey, how did it, I always tell parents, I tell parents, think about what's the difference between head questions and heart questions. Well, first of all, we don't ask questions. We tell, direct, and lecture. But let's say you were trying to practice asking good questions, because this is how we learn about our kids, our athletes. We ask things like, how did it go? How many kills did you get? How much playing time did you have? Those are all head questions. That's not where we connect. We connect with our heart. How did it feel when you didn't get as much playing time as you thought you were going to? How did it feel when you hit the net on match point? How did it feel when your critical teammate raised their eyebrows at you when you messed up the serve receive? So everything is I'm trying to come into their heart. Yeah. Here's other heart questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how courageous did you feel in the first game compared to the second game? Can you think of any times where you took some risks and got uncomfortable? And then they say, and athletes would tell me yes, and I'm like, and how did that feel? Like, were you ready to pee your pants when you got ready to do that courageous thing? Like, how did you do that? How did you make yourself do that courageous thing?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, then I just sit and listen. And then I ask another heart question, and I just keep probing with questions that tap into their heart.
Wow, that's so good.
So good.
I'm loving this stuff, but I'm also sitting over here with, I feel like I'm getting my toes stepped on because I see all the mistakes that I've made, over the years of concentrating on, I say, what happened here? Why did that happen? What was the coach thinking there? What was that player thinking over there? Why did they do that?
Why didn't you do this?
It's just I don't
May I
know.
just add? Can I need to add to that last thing that Travell that you just said. Oh, and by the way, Matt, join the club of regret. I told you I was a professional coach for 20 years. I didn't know any of this. My grandpa always used to say, "So soon old, so late smart." So at least we're getting there.
Yeah.
I want to bring up something. This is really important because Travell said it. So you can ask a question like, "Well, what were you thinking there?"
Yeah.
That's not a question.
No.
It is. You can put an exclamation point on the end of it if you wanted to do it grammatically correct. But the intention is not a question. The intention is guilt.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
I see
intention
that.
is guilt. I want
see
to
that.
show you that you were wrong, but I'm going to do it indirectly so it doesn't hurt quite so much. But this is what athletes tell me tell me this all the time. Yeah, my parents, they know my parents, this and that. And they're like, yeah, they try to say it like this, but I know what they really mean. We are not fooling them. They are so freaking smart. So when we ask, what were you thinking out there, is different than, hey, on that point, when you set it to your outside hitter, instead of a quick set down the middle, what were you thinking? If we are truly want to connect with our kids and our athletes and we ask questions, the intention is curiosity. Not, here, let me show you how much I know by pretending I'm going to ask you a question, but really I'm going to give you the answer in just one moment.
Yeah.
So I want to add to that, and I want to emphasize that the four of us are smarter than we give ourselves credit for, because that is exactly what we talked about in some other previous episode, where we talked about having our daughters teach us about the sport instead of us acting like authorities. Because I promise you, I don't know more about playing libero than my daughter does. I ask her questions so that she teaches me, because I legitimately don't understand. I don't know. And I want her to explain it to me. And so I phrase questions to her to teach me, so that, just like Shawnee said, I'm not the authority. I'm not there to show her up and tell her how to do this or that. This is her sport, not mine. So she's going to tell me.
When we ask good questions, here's what ends up happening that I think is just so fascinating. When we ask good questions, to me, it's the best way to do feedback. Because feedback is a mirror. I hold it up so that you can see yourself better. I said a while ago, these athletes do not have any clue. Their self-awareness is low, emotional intelligence is low. They don't even know what's going on. But when we start asking good questions, hey, on match point, when I'm putting up a mirror. A mirror causes us to self-reflect. Because where do we want the answers to be? In the middle of the shitstorm. Who do we want to save them? Themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Themselves. And when we tell, direct, and lecture, we take away the greatest opportunity that we should be giving them, equipping them to be their own hero, to be problem solvers that can save themselves.
So good.
That's really good. My daughter accuses me of mansplaining all the time when I start lecturing. Yeah, so whenever she either starts rolling her eyes or taking a nap or whatever, I get the hint. I'm talking too much instead of listening, and that's really what she's getting at when she says stop mansplaining. She's really just saying listen to my heart, right? Is what she's saying to me, is listen to that. and I'll give you the answers that you're looking for. That's really, really good stuff.
Yeah. And over the years, I've found that what you just said, Shawnee, asking those questions, you get more conversation out of your child when you ask them that, like what you said with the scenario, what happened, not what happened there, but can you explain to me this scenario? And it it pours out. You can get a 20-minute conversation like you're like your best friend's standing right next to her, and you get all the information. Right. Not like, why did you do this wrong? And trust me, I've been there. I realized, we've all had this conversation where we're sitting in the car on the ride home, and we're like, what happened? And we're like mad for them, but we're not mad. They're not mad. They're just embarrassed and frustrated, and sad because they let us down. When it's not even our sport, like Jim says. So we've all been in that situation, and I've found that moving out of that situation and asking more questions about, well, what was going on with so and so on the team, or asking, how is this going, or just things that aren't, why didn't you do this? More mansplaining, or not mansplaining, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not. Men suck at like getting emotions out. We're all about telling people what to do, and with girls in volleyball, I mean, every point is a failure if you don't win. Every point. Yeah, it's a game of failures.
Great perspective.
Yeah, it's a game of failures.
How to overcome those.
I mean, that's you put it perfectly. I mean, that's in a nutshell. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, Shawnee, I had a question. I'm sorry, Dan, you were going.
Oh, that's okay. I'm done.
No, so I had a question. You hit on something there that for me and my wife, as sports parents now, which is still weird for me to think about that. One of the things we want our daughters to get out of sports is being self-reliant, learning how to look within themselves to overcome adversity. As you work with these athletes, and more specifically their parents, do you see that perspective from the parents, that it's not just about winning a championship, it's not just about getting a scholarship or playing time or whatever, that's what sports used to be about, was those lessons you learned about life and what you can accomplish? Do you see that still from the parents that you work with?
No.
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Well, I have to add to that. I think that if we want to help our kids and our athletes handle their greatest fear, we have to first handle our own. And I think that if I ask parents, because parents they're over everything, over managing, over lecturing, over functioning, over everything. And so I ask them, so what's your why? When you first started this journey, why did you put your kids in sport? And they can give me all of these answers. And what I'm trying to point out to them is there's a difference between goals and values. Goals are what we do. Values are who we are. And we put our kids in sport because of the values that sport brings. Sport builds character. Well, not only that, sport reveals it. And sport also reveals the character of the parents. So I think it's important for us to remember, wouldn't it be nice if there was a scholarship down the road? But that's the goal. But what are the values that we believe in every single day? And are the parents role modeling the values? And so really, I really believe every parent wants to be a great parent. They want to be sitting in the stands, being a contributor, not a contaminator. They just sometimes forget, and they get off a track. Yeah. And so we have to go back into their heart. Parents have to tap back into their heart. Jim, what I find, the parents that have the hardest time remembering their why is because they haven't faced their deepest fear. And for almost every parent, the fear is, what if my kid's not good enough to get the starting lineup, to get this team, to get that team, and eventually get a scholarship? What if my kid gets left behind? So if you haven't faced that fear, it's going to be pretty hard to focus and pay attention to your values.
Can we give Shawnee a round of applause for that one?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
I'm just going to interject this because what you just said, I can totally relate to a real life situation. And my daughter played club volleyball at a high level, and she was very good, and she always played. And my son plays hockey in a club level, doesn't play is not very well, worst player on the team. But you can see the parents like worried about my son not getting playing time on game day. Like, he's there for the experience. He's there for ice time. He's there because he enjoys putting skates on and hitting a puck around. And you can tell some parents, they can't grasp that. Like, they're worried that he's not playing. They're worried that we're upset because he's not playing. I don't care. I paid for him to learn hockey and for him to build values, not to get, all the goals and play all the time. I don't care about that. But I didn't realize that until I put him into hockey now. I was that parent that was over here watching, like, I'm not saying I wanted my daughter to play college ball, but she was on that level of playing college ball. Like, I want her up here. I want to keep pushing her to go to this level and to this level because I didn't get that opportunity when I was a kid. So I'm trying to have her do it. I'm not saying that's what I wanted, but I might have to say it out loud, and I'll say it out loud. It's probably why she's not playing now. You know?
Yeah.
Dan.
Man.
Gonna have to go get the tissues over here, brother.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I really appreciate the vulnerability, and we're all kind of looking in the mirror right now, and it's healthy. It's not easy, but it's certainly healthy. I think when I started at the beginning, I said, what's the biggest problem that athletes have? And then every one of you said your thing, and then I said the biggest problem is they don't know what to do with how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
May I also say the same thing about parents?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You ever wanted to have a feeling? If you ever wanted to have a feeling, sit in the stands and watch your kid compete, or sit on the bench or whatever. If you ever wanted to have a feeling, and parents don't know what to do with the crappy feelings that come up. It's so much easier for the parents of the kids that are really good, that play all of the time. They have it's different.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
If we don't know what to do, so this is how I say to parents, I said, so what I'm hearing is you don't know what to do when you don't get what you want.
Wow.
You don't know what to do with those feelings, because what you want is your kid to be the star, your kid to be on the first line, your kid to get the most kills, the scouts to be all over the place, and you're getting emails, and the Div 1 road is going to be paved with gold nuggets. And then when we don't get that, now the fear-based behaviors kick in big time.
The flight or fight.
Gosh.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Y'all ready for part 2?
Oof.
And then followed by part 3, because this is getting good.
Oh,
This is getting so good.
Cliffhanger. That's what you got. I just looked at the time. You son of a gun.
Yeah, I know it. Hey, I don't know if this is a question. It's more of a statement, maybe a rant, a little bit of personal feeling involved in it. But Shawnee, maybe you can speak to it a little bit. I think it aligns somewhat with what we've been talking about for about the last 10 or 15 minutes. In the volleyball world, we're all sitting in the stands, and there's certain things that parents yell from the stands. Talk, communicate, hustle, swing, just different things that they're yelling at to their kids. I have a problem with that. I used to do it. I have a problem with that. And a lot of it had to do with something that you had shared on your Facebook page that, why do coaches yell? Why do parents yell? Do you really think that your kid is out there trying to mess up? Do you think that's their goal, is that they want to mess up so that you can yell at them? We've talked about a little bit about, why parents are doing what they're doing. Can you just speak to that? Maybe give a message to the parents about, hey, Travell and I, Jim's kid, we're all playing this weekend. and our daughters are going to listen to some stuff from the stands. What would you say to parents right now about their yelling and behavior from the stands?
Well, I would ask a question, and my question would be, for whose benefit is the yelling? For whose benefit are the instructions? And if we're telling the truth, it's usually for our own. And this is when we get to practice emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Is often what parents say from the stands. They do it because that's how they make themselves feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So what if we practice courage? What if we tried courage and said, it's not my daughter's job to perform this action in this way so that I feel better. And so I'm going to practice sitting here and managing. I'm going to sit in the discomfort of saying nothing for 1 point. And see if I can do 1 point. And then, what if I can do 2 points? Because to move through all of these feelings that we have to be able to tolerate the discomfort of sitting in the thing that we don't like to feel.
Crappy.
But when you practice tolerance, it grows.
Oh, yeah.
We get better at tolerating, and the feelings start to change. And now we don't have this impulse to have to say it every single second when we have practiced saying, you know what? I understand that when I say that, this is just for my own benefit. I didn't come to this volleyball games for my daughter's play to provide therapy for me. I need to fix myself. I need to manage my emotions as best I can.
Oh, yeah.
So another word that has courage in it is encouragement, and that is what I focus on. I don't say as much as I used to, mostly because I'm behind the camera and it records everything I say. But my focus is as a cheerleader for the girls is exactly that. I'm there to support them. I'm not there to coach them or to chastise or criticize or tell them what to do. Let's encourage our girls. If you're going to say anything, right, I try to focus on that more positive, mindfulness of them having fun and enjoying the experience, as opposed to, trying to tell them to hit harder or whatever, pass better. Like instead of doing a task, right, focus on the feeling of, trying to enjoy it. But even that, to your point, Shawnee, is a little bit of, now I'm trying to tell them how to feel about it, right? So maybe some of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's all good self-awareness. I would say, has anybody ever asked your daughter, what would you, when I'm watching you play, what would you like me to stop saying? What would you like me to start saying? What would you like me to do less of? What would you like me to do more of? You could say, what
if we take that as an assignment?
Great.
Yeah, I would have never thought, before you said that, I would have never thought to go and ask her that. Like it wasn't even a thought in my head to ask her what did she like to hear or not like to hear from me on the sidelines.
So I will say, I've already asked my daughter that. We have, and I can share the answer. She said she doesn't really care. she doesn't. But
I
disagree.
Yeah, I disagree with that. By the way, she does care, and she hears everything you say.
She does hear. She actively. She gets a kick out of us. But like I said, we're very practiced in how we speak to her on the court and her teammates.
Jim, what if you said this then? So it's different than what my first question was. What if you said to her, what's one thing that I can do to help you show up as your greatest self?
I'll do that.
Maybe there's just a different way of phrasing it.
Yeah, I love those kinds of questions. And more than anything, I love them because it makes us think and it makes them think.
Well,
because like you said at the start of this, right? They've never been asked, what are they afraid of? They've never been asked to think about those kinds of things.
Mhm.
I never thought.
I'm all about it.
As a parent, you know, I never even thought of that. I just
No,
show up
not
to
even
watch the wins and losses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yell when they score, scream when they don't. I mean, that's the life of a parent.
Yeah.
And it's
I could go back like
you've
4
been doing
years.
it wrong this whole time.
the whole time wrong.
The good thing is you got more kids, so
Wrong as hell. Well, I got more opportunities.
Wrong as
you'll
hell.
get it
I got
right
more-
eventually.
I got more opportunities to get it right, so I think we're going to be good going forward from now.
Yep, for sure. Hey guys, we are pretty much out of time. It is straight up
Part 2.
9 o'clock over here.
Wait, but
Gotta
we
do
have
part 2.
one more thing before you cut this off. What do we have?
Yeah.
Takeaways.
Yeah, well, I was getting to it. You just
Okay,
got to give me a
I
minute
didn't
over
know.
here.
Okay. All right.
You got to let me finish,
make you
Dan.
feel?
All right. I got excited. This is what happens when I get excited.
What were you thinking, Dan?
Yeah, I know.
don't know.
I
I
have my
suck.
assignment. It's my last question on my sheet here. I was going to follow it to the T. It's now 9:01. We're now pushing the limits here.
It's all my
Johnny.
fault. I apologize. I'll go sit on the bench.
Yes. Please let the record show that the gentleman from Wisconsin took up my time today. Shawnee, back to you. Can you wrap us up today? Give us some top takeaways, from this conversation, or maybe something that we didn't cover. What's something that parents need to hear?
Well, Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. And I think we're expecting a lot of our athletes. And I think it'd be awesome if we started expecting more of ourselves. I gave the formula weight, shift, choose, how we can help our athletes with it. But what if we used it as well? It's a practical tool that if you can't remember anything else that we talked about this evening, weight, shift, choose can help all of us show up as our greatest self.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to say anything else. Let's just wrap it up there because that's
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, that's the perfect place to end it.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't cover it. Shawnee, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you for some mental toughness coaching?
My website, they can see it. Oops, there it is. That's my website, ShawneeHarley.com. Everything is what you need. Anything that you need is there. I'm on social media. My handle is Shawnee Harley.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody, you guys, as well as any listeners that are on now or in the future. I found Shawnee on Facebook, and she puts out some amazing content. It's really short content, so it's not something where you've got to devote hours to sit down and read through a blog or watch a video. It's short snippets, and it's amazing stuff. It definitely makes you think and ask some questions, so I encourage everybody to go check her out on Facebook and check out her website for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. And then also, obviously,
Good.
if anybody's watching, go like us on Facebook, Volleyball Dads. We got a group going over there, a bunch of dads talk about volleyball and all that fun club stuff that happens that doesn't have to relate to the moms and all the drama that goes on over there. Just a bunch of guys talking about sports and food. So you can go check us out over there. Also, make sure if you guys are watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. I think that's all I got. Anybody else going to put?
No.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, iTunes, all the audio podcasting.
Major streaming.
Yep.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right.
Go.
Until next time, 2 weeks from now.
See you in 2 weeks.
We'll
See y'all.
you
Thanks,
guys.
Shawnee.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again.
Thank
Shawnee.
you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.